Hey, brother. What do you want to see me about? What's this?
Sold all of our real estate.
You sold all of our real estate.
Everything. We don't own any more real estate.
The apartments.
All the apartments.
Commercial.
None.
No land.
I sold everything.
You sold everything that we have for one gold bar and some gold coins?
Nope.
For 2 gold bars and some gold coins.
I got you a cut though. Thank you. You're welcome.
Hey everybody, you are kicking it with the Homeboys and welcome to the Homeboys podcast. My name is Clint Wetherill and this is Scott Adams.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about some crazy things about how to not be left behind in this crazy real estate market. We're going to talk about people moving to Tijuana because it's the only place they can afford out there. We're going to talk about how we don't want these millennials getting left behind and missing out on a generation of owning real estate. We're going to talk about how they can buy houses in Middle America to not be left behind. We're going to talk about hedge funds and the crazy stuff they're up to. It's going to be good. But before we get into that, how are you, my friend?
It's good to be here with you.
Yeah.
Doing good, man. Got a little guys trip coming up here a little bit, so I'm excited. It's college basketball season and March Madness is going on.
Heck yeah.
So I'm doing that, but family's good and just living the dream, man. The sun is shining here in Indianapolis. It's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of koi ponds in my backyard, as you know, and the waterfalls are flowing, and the koi were out. I just started feeding them. It's so crazy. I send you pictures where they're frozen in the ice over winter. They're out swimming. They're alive. I'm always
worried.
They
just come back to life.
They just start swimming, and we feed them. And
they're just frozen, and then they're back.
They're fish slushies for half the year.
You don't have to do anything. It just freezes over.
Yeah.
So weird to me.
I know. But when they come out and they're starting to eat, I'm like, it's spring. It feels good. I'm ready to come out of hibernation myself.
Who do you got in your NCAA bracket?
Yeah, I do.
You have no idea, dude.
Barry gave it to me, and he said it's $5 for every employee. And I was like, okay, I'll get that to you. And as soon as you walked out of the room, I literally crumpled it up and put it in my trash can.
Why would you not just fill it out?
Because I don't know anything.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I didn't have $5 on me, and he said there was a deadline of like today, and I didn't want to mess with it. I don't care.
You got till tomorrow, like noon.
All right.
I mean, it's the camaraderie. I mean, you can't be a sourpuss baby all the time just because you're not an expert on everything. I know you're all smart and mighty in everything that you do, but like nobody knows.
How has this turned into Bash Scott Day?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we just want you involved, man. You know.
All right.
You know, it's.
All right. I'll take all your money.
You know.
I just didn't want to take everyone's money. Is the bottom line, really.
Hey, I'm 2 years in a row. I've won 2 years in a row.
You have?
I have.
Oh, now I didn't know that. I am playing. I'm gonna take
See, I'm kind though. What I do if I win one of these office pools, I have a lunch, catered into the office. You'll just pocket it.
Oh, I will. I'll spend it on koi food.
That is not true.
No.
He is one of the kindest people I've ever met.
You're too sweet.
On that note, let's just get into this, sweet man. Let's talk about it. You sent me a wild, crazy clip. It was a news clip that I watched yesterday morning. And I couldn't believe it. I hadn't heard it yet. But it was talking about people in Southern California are now moving to Tijuana because they are priced out of the retail housing market and also the rental market, that they can't afford, a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment, that they're actually going into Tijuana now to live because they can't afford,
Right.
These crazy prices. And I forget some of the stats. Maybe we could put this particular clip in the show notes, but what was like a average two bedroom in San Diego?
4,000? I think it was 4,000. But
I think it was approaching. I think it was, right. It might have been, but call it whatever. 3,800, 4,000, really expensive.
Really expensive. And the bottom line is people are moving to a place that our parents warned us about. And I've been to Tijuana a couple of times. I hate to admit, and I've been there with one of our acquisitions director when we were in college, and I know it's changed a little. I've been there recently.
I would pay money to see you two idiots in Tijuana. Yeah. No, I wouldn't, because that means I'd actually have to be in Tijuana to see it. But if there could have been a film crew to have seen you two in Tijuana.
This is not an exaggeration. We literally were chased by the Mexican cartels out of town because of some stupid stuff that we had done at a bar.
Oh, you guys did stupid stuff? Shocker.
Right. Yeah, the waitress there snuck us out the back door because they were waiting in the front. This is not an exaggeration. And John Lysak, luckily, had been real nice to that waitress and saved our lives. That's how stupid we were and how dangerous Tijuana was and still is.
I know nothing, but, I've heard all these crazy stories about Tijuana. So, whenever I'm watching this clip that you sent me, I'm like, it's kind of mind-blowing to me. I guess people have to live in that area for a job or for family or for some reason. My first inclination was like, hey, just move to the Midwest and, not deal with any of this craziness. But
but that's everything in life. So, you always think, well, when there's a drought in Ethiopia, you think, well, just move to where there's water. People have to live where they are. And so people have jobs and families and a lot of reasons that they have to be there. And where do you go when California is, insanely appreciated and the rents are sky high? I guess apparently you go to Tijuana. It's crazy. It's just one example of how insane this real estate market is. We talked recently on a podcast, you and I, I think it was one about 5 months ago, about rental prices here in Fishers, Indiana. They've almost doubled since that podcast, and that's here in Indiana. Mm-hmm. So it's happening everywhere, just at an accelerated pace in some of these markets. It's insane, and it's which is the next point to cover is that it's pushing millennials out of owning real estate and being able to buy in. Because a lot of these markets where millennials live happen to be these crazy markets, California and the coastal cities. So we've got a whole generation that could miss out on the wealth building of owning your own home.
So are you talking more from just a owner-occupant, or investors, or both? Or
both. Yeah. I think, if you look at the normal path that people who have real estate assets take is they usually buy their own home first, and then they realize the potential. A lot of times that wakes them up as they build equity in their own home. They're like, well, I'd like to do this more than just in my home, and they end up buying more of them. So typically I think that's the first step, is in their own home, and then it transitions to more and more homes.
Right, because that same clip that you sent, it talked about this nation's, what do they call it? I think it was just $1 million cities.
They did, yeah.
Where the average home price is over $1 million, mm-hmm. and it's like 27 cities or something.
Yeah, I think it was even more. There was like 40 something. But anyway, there's a certain
most
number.
of them were in California.
They were.
That's hard for someone like me and you being in the Midwest to comprehend. I remember when I first got into real estate, going on 20 years ago, there was like 10 homes in the entire Board of Realtor multiple listing service here that were over $1 million.
Right.
It was just, there were so few and far between at that time. I know that's changed a lot over 20 years, but to see the average price of home, for us in an entire city, to be that, it's hard for me to wrap my hands around, quite frankly, because it's just a lot different here. So if you're a millennial or young professional, whatever you want to say, whatever term you want to use, and let's just use the owner-occupant, I don't know exactly what you do from an owner-occupant level. You
don't.
If you have a job, so let's just say San Diego, right next to to Tijuana, where the average home is, let's just say it's $1 million. I couldn't imagine, coming out of college or even being 25 or really even being 30 and having $1 million home.
Right.
So say if you can't buy a home because it's $1 million, well then a 800 square foot, 2-bedroom and 800 may be generous, as far as the size of it, is $3,800. Mm-hmm. Whenever I got out of college, my rent was $600, and I split it with an idiot friend of mine.
Right. Well, there's a lot of that going on too out there of room sharing. We have a friend who owns a property in downtown San Francisco, and he's got 2 bunk beds in each room. So 4 beds in each room. I think it's 5-bedroom. So he's got 20 people living there. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And then, so, the answer to that question is, what do these millennials do? Well, you rent as cheap as you can. I mean, if you want to just look at the pure financial and not like quality of life, if you just want to make the smartest financial decision, then you rent as cheaply as you can in those markets and you buy investment properties in other markets.
But I still don't think that's a feasible answer, because they get out of let's say you get out of college.
Right.
Let's say you just graduated college. You got an entry level, job. I don't know what entry level jobs are now. Let's say
Software.
I don't know, 60,000,
No.
70,000.
What? No, you're way off. For like an entry level like software engineer, you're at
I don't know.
400,000 out there.
Oh my gosh, these ain't $300,000-400,000. Well, not everyone's an engineer either,
No,
Scotty.
I know, but-
so let's just say,
Right.
let's just say it's 80. Whatever.
Right.
$80,000. If you're just out of college, you've got this college debt, you've got any kind of other debt, and say you have $80,000, a year, and a third of that's gone in taxes.
Right.
And then your rental price is, $3,800 a month. You say is to do it as cheaply as you can. Like, what can you afford? $2,000? And does $2,000 mean that you're in an area that's not safe?
Probably.
Crime ridden? Heck, they're going to Tijuana, for crying out cornflakes. I know.
I know.
Like, I just don't. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying so much. Is that I don't know if I look back at my life, like after I graduated from the School of Business at Indiana University and what I was making, like how, I know where I'd have to be if you related Indiana to California, and I just can't imagine that. I mean, I wouldn't live in Southern California, I guess is what I'm saying. I wouldn't.
But there's a direct correlation between the incomes out there versus the incomes here. I mean, it's significantly higher.
It is, but I've got this interesting article that I used to have laminated, and I used to pull it out and show clients whenever they were coming in from out of town. And this article, I wish I still had it, but it was a Money Magazine article, and it showed the 50 largest real estate markets in our country.
Okay. And
it showed the percentage of a person's income that went to mortgage payment.
Okay.
It's really fascinating. I'm sure I can go back and find it. This was probably 2007, 8, 9.
I bet there's a current one. I'd love to find a current one.
But at that time, I remember these numbers. At that time, on average in Indianapolis, 11% of a person's income went to their mortgage payment.
That's awesome.
It's incredible.
It's awesome.
And it ranked really high. Los Angeles, 57%.
I remember this.
57%.
I remember this article. Mm-hmm. That just clicked.
So, I would tell people, how house poor people in California would be. 57% of your income, and you think about all the other expenses that you have, and
right.
People were house poor, and it's only I think it's only had to have gotten worse. Now I know that there's certain jobs, and you go to Silicon Valley, and the salaries are crazy high, but that's a fantasy camp, and that's not normal.
There's restaurants people have to work at. There's a million other normal jobs everyone has to have.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't see how, You could do it unless you had, one of these amazing jobs. But I mean, not everyone can go, start a $500,000 job,
Right.
Out of college. I know Silicon Valley's got some crazy, crazy things going on, but I don't know. I'm still just trying to wrap my hands on like how millennials in certain parts of the country could do it.
I don't know. All I know is that, they want to be there, which is understandable. That's where
it's beautiful.
Right. And that's where, it's fun and there's a quality of life thing, and it's about being young. But yeah, they're going to miss out on owning real estate out there. But they should still buy real estate in other places. And that's going to be hard because they're paying so much in rent there. But at the same time, that's why this is an important topic.
So your advice isn't to just pack up all your crap and move to the Midwest?
Yes, that is partially my advice. I mean, if I was frank and honest, yeah, you should. I mean, the quality of life in the Midwest is unbelievable. How you can live on income, and there's a great family oriented. It's just a neat place, but these kids aren't going to do that, which I understand. It's not for everyone. But yeah, my advice, frankly, would be, come here. It's great.
So I'm trying to think of like what we can do to provide value to our listeners, and I don't know that I've provided any value other than the fact that it's like, man, I don't get how people can get by, out there. But we're talking from an owner-occupant standpoint.
Right. Now let's move on to what they can do.
Let's just say owner-occupant in those areas, it's going to be really challenging. It's going to be challenging.
Yeah, and it's really not smart to buy out there just on a blank financial basis. Now, I know that there's people out there who think that everything's going to keep appreciating, and of course it's smart to buy out here. That my neighbor bought his house for $1 million and sold it for $2 million. Well, I mean, you're betting on the come, as they say in craps. You're just gambling that appreciation will happen, and if that's your investment strategy, you're in the coin flipping business then. I mean, why don't you just put $1 million on heads or tails on a coin and see what happens?
Your odds may be just as good.
I know, probably. But so we think you should rent out there, and you should invest in places where the returns are solid, steady, what you can plan on. You can have a really good sample size of what they're going to do and what they will do, and you're not betting on appreciation or any of that stuff. It's a solid cash flowing asset, and it's not sexy. They're living out there in California, and we have a lot of clients. In fact, I'd say 75% of our clients are California, maybe give or take. What do you think?
I'd say it's a pretty accurate number.
About 75% of our clients are in California who understand what we're saying here, which is you live where you want to live and you invest in the markets where the returns are the best. And
I think that's a great point. Live where you want to live, invest in the markets where the returns, are the best. So
technology has allowed that to be possible. This wasn't possible. I mean, you could 10 years ago, but we're much more connected now. So this software like that companies like our companies use, our clients can log in, see everything with their house, and it's more possible now. We see the successful people doing that. There's a reason why 75% of our clients are from California, but 99% overall are from somewhere other than Indiana. They don't live here. It's because our market happens to be one of these great Midwestern markets. And there's others, this isn't a show about, hey, invest in Indianapolis or invest with us. We're one of many markets people can do this with. And I just want to make sure that this new generation, my kids' generation, doesn't miss out on owning real estate.
So let's talk about that generation, whether they live in California, whether they, live in wherever. Where do they invest? How do they invest? What do they do?
Well, I mean, you and I believe in turnkey because it's simple. You've got some known operators that are proven track records that you can find throughout the Midwest in good cities, and they do it all for you. And you're all the way in California, and or wherever you are, and the most important thing is working with people who are experienced and have a history of performing and doing what they say. You know, we're big believers in groups like ours who underpromise and overdeliver. And it's boring what these turnkey brokers sell. And you're paying full price when you buy these houses. But it's all in a pretty bow. It's the simplest way. We really recommend that's the easiest way. You can try to get cute and try to find a deal and then find somebody to fix it up. Or there's a million ways to get in, but the easiest and safest and the most known where you can plan on a set return is turnkey.
So we're saying, invest in areas that make sense. We have lots of valued clients that have invested, with us. I think it's very important to tell our listeners that one of the best ways to screen these people that you work with is how long have you been in business? Mm-hmm. If someone has been doing it for 15, 20 years, they haven't done it 15, 20 years by doing it the wrong way. We see people doing it the wrong way all the time. They come and go. They don't last very long. It's a very short life for the people that don't know what they're doing in this world and try to pawn themselves off as professionals. So ask for experience. With experience, they can give you a whole list of references. We have 325 rental property owners that we facilitate.
Yeah.
You really need that experience because people that get into the turnkey world and think they know what they're doing, there's a lot of moving parts to it. The rehab is very, challenging that needs a true expert doing it. We have a whole checklist, item list that we have that we go through on every home. So very important to do your research. There's lots of good markets out there. We happen to know a lot of people, in different markets.
Yeah, the experience thing is very important, and there's a lot of ways to find what market works best for you. Money Magazine always has great articles, and you can just research what the best, real estate. There's a ton of you just Google what are the best markets for real estate investing from afar, and you'll see the same, cities on those lists. And then you can just start looking for turnkey providers in those. That's what we suggest. I know it seems crazy, but if you, again, screen them, get someone good, they'll be able to walk you through every step of the way. They can help get you with the right lender. It's easier than you think, and you don't have to even have that much saved. So we think that you should reach out to turnkey providers. And these turnkey properties that you're going to find in all these different markets, I think you will be shocked that these are the matching product that the hedge funds are getting into, that they're buying.
Brings us to another point.
Yeah, which is why are the hedge funds doing it? Mm-hmm. Well, because they are the properties that make the most sense. These really smart people on Wall Street that do the math, the accountants and the actuaries and the bean counters, they do the math and figure out where the best bang for their buck is. That everybody's looking for a return. And the floodgates opened when the hedge funds discovered they could own single family, that they could do what we're preaching here. Mm-hmm. Just because individuals can do it from anywhere, well, the hedge fund said, well, if individuals can do it from anywhere, we can too. And they've flooded in, and they're buying up these properties themselves. It's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing. It's proof in a way of that it works. That this is a great target type of investment.
But it poses a lot of challenges. Mm-hmm. It creates competition.
It does.
The hedge funds are obviously cash buyers with deep pockets. It's hard for anyone getting in a bidding war. You're talking that entry-level home that a young professional, would be looking to get into.
Sucks. They've pushed those millennials out, even here in the Midwest, of the first-time home buyer market a little bit.
Oh, we know several hedge funds that have bought several thousand homes here.
Right.
Think of that, thousands of homes here in Indianapolis been gobbled up by the hedge funds.
Right. And they're renting them to these folks who would have rather purchased them. And so how do you fight back against that? You become them.
I just sit around and get angry and
Yeah.
hate on them. I just
It's so
I don't
easy.
know. What do
We
just complain about it.
I know. It's easy to look at these hedge funds and see some evil behind it. I'm just going to go on a small, quick diatribe about these hedge funds. So if you look at Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Pepsi, Coke, you have the same number one shareholder in all of those companies. So these hedge funds, BlackRock and then Vanguard, of course, is up there, and then even Berkshire Hathaway is a large shareholder in a lot of those. But these guys don't go out, these hedge funds don't go out and just buy Visa stock and hope it does well. They buy the whole market. They buy the competition. They invest in Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. They invest in Pepsi and Coke. They just own it all. This pooled money is insane. There's so much pooled money. I mean, and then they're pushing these kids out of being able to be first-time home buyers like we were. And it sucks. However, you still can fight back. I know it's not as good as being able to buy a cheap home for your first home and live in it, but you can still fight back by buying a rental property the way they are. You can do what they're doing.
But isn't it, this is a little off topic, but isn't that kind of scary that, say the Dow Jones stocks, the 30 blue chip, companies that make up the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that, their biggest shareholder is, these hedge funds and other, corporate pooled money, as well as our real estate market is controlled by them also.
It's very scary. The pool of money just keeps growing larger and larger. When you pool money like that, it's a snowball, as you know. The interest the compounding effect of interest on that pooled money allows them to just continue to gobble it up. They're like a black hole that sucks everything in around them, including all the profit everywhere, And so we got to get ours. You got to get yours because they're gobbling it all up. You can buy into the market that they control, the stock market meaning. You can buy up what the other stuff that they're doing.
The same news clip that you shared with me, is calling for government regulation, of this. They weren't talking about them owning stakes in our large U.S. companies. They were talking about the housing market in particular.
Right. Just what we want, the government controlling housing prices.
It's an interesting point. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm saying, do you feel like there should be some sort of government control on these hedge funds?
I don't know.
Controlling our housing markets.
I'm really good at pointing out the problems and scaring everybody and pointing at the problems and saying, look at this. I'm really bad at knowing which solutions work. When someone offers a solution that they think would work, I just like to shoot that down and point out everything that's wrong with each version.
Yeah, but in a lot of ways, I don't know that there's anyone that exists, in this country that knows the right answer to it. Because this we've seen it on a very small scale, how much the hedge funds can control, our real estate market. Because we bid on lots of houses and we've come in second, literally 1,000 times to hedge funds. But it starts out small and now it has gotten so big and so vast that, I don't know that.
I don't know.
Is we to the point of no return? At this point.
There's historical references that you could look at for this, in like the landowners in Europe way back, and I don't even know which century that was, but revolutions happened over this when the serfs and the peasants couldn't own their own properties, and it was all owned by the wealthy. There's been revolutions over this type of thing. So it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. I don't want it to become worse. I want it to become better. And the only solution I know is to fight back on an individual level, is to go out and compete with them, beat them, buy what they're buying, be like them. I don't know. Will the government regulate it sometime? Maybe, I don't know. The only thing that I know to do is to do it, and to help motivate these millennials to do it too. There's a reason the hedge funds are doing it. do what they're doing. Let's beat them. You know, I don't want this generation, my kids' generation, your kids' generation, to miss out on all this wealth you and I have been able to build through owning real estate. I mean,
there's still deals out there.
There are.
We just found a commercial deal that we're really, hyped up about. It just,
Pumped.
it lets you know that, if you stay vigilant and stay the course, I mean, it's still there.
True.
So you always say it, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a weird and wacky market. I mean, it's nuts. We started off by talking about, Tijuana and it's hard for me to fathom.
Right.
But I'm just a old redneck from Southern Indiana that I just wouldn't do it. I mean,
Right.
it's just all there is to it.
But so to summarize though, move to Tijuana if you want. That seems weird, but buy real estate. There's a lot of markets you can buy no matter where you live. If you're a millennial, don't miss out on this, right? I mean, let's fight back against these evil freaking hedge funds, and let's just do it.
We're going to start our own revolution.
It will be televised.
Yeah. Well, I think it's easy sometimes we get on here and we sound just like a couple of grumpy old men. But the point of our discussions on our podcast and all the content that we put out there is to help investors, help spread the love of real estate investing conservatively, doing it very smart, long-term wealth creation. We really like having a good time.
Heck yeah.
Sometimes it's just we get a little worked up on this crazy world changing the way that it is. But anyhow, that's our show. Keep plugging along out there. As Scotty said, just do it. Till next time, happy investing. I didn't knock.
You're good.
Here's yours.
You can't be a sourpuss baby all the time.
Would you want to see me up? It's a heavy gold bar.
Fish slushies.
This is my cut.
There's your cut.
For 2 gold bars and some gold coins.
Welcome.
Perfect.
Sourpuss